Hi guys, and welcome to the NerdNest podcast. I'm Sarah Montgomery, NerdNest social media manager. It's so good to have you back. And my guests for today,
Josh, Daniel.
My brothers, you know them. Hopefully you like them because they're going to be on multiple times as usual. We saw Spectre, the new James Bond movie, this past Friday. So we're here to talk about it. So, first impressions, what do you guys think?
I liked it. About the same as the other James Bond movies.
That's a bit brings you to a good point. So, how many James Bond movies have you seen?
I've seen them all.
Even like the...
Oh, I've seen a handful of the older ones.
Okay. But all the Daniel Craig ones?
I've seen all the Daniel Craig. That's the ones I was talking about.
I'm basically in the same pile as that. Daniel, what about you?
It was good. This is my first James Bond movie I've ever seen. So, I don't know why I'm on this podcast. That's a good question.
Because we needed a third person. But, so, Daniel, that's kind of just gives you some coloring onto what we are thinking so that you know exactly how much we have experience in this kind of field. Personally, I love James Bond. I've been working my way through the older Bond movies for a while just because I find them interesting. I like the character and it's kind of just a fun movie to watch, cool storylines.
I've been thinking about doing that for a while.
Well, good. That's good. But Spectre, Daniel, as your first Bond movie, how was it? Probably a little bit confusing.
Not really. It wasn't confusing at all. I mean, like I played that old video game on the N64, which doesn't like mean anything to do with James Bond really. Like it doesn't give much of a story, but I mean, like I think everyone kind of knows those cliches in James Bond movies. So I'm not an idiot. Like I noticed, like I get it, James Bond. I know he's a womanizer, stuff like that.
There are other things. You know that tied into his previous movies, right?
Yes.
We explained this to him on the car.
We did?
Yeah, because Skyfall ties into this one and all the other ones. My biggest, I really liked the movie. I really liked Spectre. I thought, first of all, the opening action sequence was phenomenal. The whole film, absolutely just beautiful, cinematically speaking.
Alright, it was really pretty.
It was a really, really pretty movie. But from the first action scene, I don't really feel like they ever lived back up to that. Except maybe like the finale, but there wasn't really that big like, wow. It was kind of like, you were never really disappointed, but it never really went over the opening action sequence with like all of the Day of the Dead kind of stuff going on top of this like crazy helicopter fight sequence and the explosions.
I would probably agree with you on that, but all the other James Bonds have started off big.
That's true. I thought the opening sequence, like the kind of animated, artistic-y one with the Sam Smith song in the background, was really, really cool. And it tied together the other movies, and it had the villains from the last movies in the background, and it had kind of everything working back together the way we're used to seeing it.
Yeah.
And I know...
Instead of having, like, in the past for James Bond movies, they might reference one another, but they don't directly mean they're related to one another.
I mean, I think that was like the issue that I had with this Bond movie, or specifically this Bond villain, was that they spent a lot of the movie building up to being like, he's a really bad dude. He set up Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. All of these other villains were just in the Spectre network, but you really never see him do that much bad stuff, except for when he's torturing James Bond in the one scene, and then he's pretty quickly like. But he does a
good job of coming off as psychopathic.
Oh no, that actor absolutely is great. Even in Glorious Bastards, I knew he'd be good for.
I was really confused about this. Like, okay, so when he was torturing James Bond, the first time he like drilled into his head, right? And it hurt for obvious reasons. The second time he did it, he like put it in here, and he talked about when he drilled it in, it would like sever a part of his brain that like would make him not be able to recognize faces.
Yeah.
And after he did that, he still recognized every single face from that point on. What happened there?
I think it was
because I was very confused.
I'm pretty sure it was trial and error. So he was making a point to say like, he's trying to find the nerve. So it's not like in this exact spot on every single human neck, if you just drill in with this tiny little drill bit, you can't remember anyone. I think he was trying to find the place to sever so that James Bond would lose all the connections to everybody that he knew, like, which would be really painful for him, obviously, and for this woman that he's supposedly in love with, Madeline Snow.
Well, would it be painful if he lost connection?
Madeline Shaw,
the worst
sorry.
part would be
Like the actual
him
film.
actually losing that information.
And
then after that, he would have exactly zero emotional attachment.
they did try to make it seem like he's losing all of the people that he ever knew, and she's losing Bond's love. And like they've known each other for like maybe a week,
Yeah.
probably less. And that's why I like the Daniel Craig Bond films a lot. You know, he's gritty, and I think it's very similar to like the Dark Knight movies.
He's also just funny enough. But if he was any
Yeah.
more funny, it'd be kind of
I
like
think that kind of just started with Skyfall mostly,
It
because
did.
Quantum of Solace and
The first two
Casino,
were super serious.
they
and
were very
dark.
serious, and really, because before that, James Bond was kind of camp. Like, and he is. James Bond is a pretty campy kind of character. But with Casino Royale, they tried to establish him as, like, he's gritty, he has a dark past, he's kind of, you don't know what he's up to, what are his motives.
He is a bit of an alcoholic sometimes.
Yeah, and he's messed up, and they gave the character more depth, and Daniel Craig does a great job showing that.
Yes.
But I think with Skyfall, and more so with Spectre, they added more dimensions to him by making him funny and making him, not sassy, but you know, that classic British, like, standoffishness.
Just a smart ass sometimes.
Yeah, like when they're just kind of like defiant, like when he was talking to M for the first part of the movie, and he was like, Bond, you're fired. Yes, sir. It's like that is such a Britishism of like I'm disrespecting you by being very overly polite and not speaking very much and not giving you a lot of my emotions. So I like that with Bond, how it was camp and they kind of made it grittier like they did with Batman with The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
They took it from like, Batman and Adam West, holy cannoli,
Biff,
Batman,
bam!
wow, to a very gritty, realistic character. And now they did that with Bond, with Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale, and they're kind of bringing it back a little bit with a little bit of camp, and I like that. I think Daniel Craig did a really good job. I like him as Bond. That's my personal opinion. I think.
How many more James Bond movies are there going to be?
I heard that they're making one more.
Daniel Craig is slated to do one more, but I think he can do as many as he wants until he's like, all right, I'm done. But,
See, I think that was more my question. Like, when is Daniel Craig done? Has he ever said anything about?
I would bet one or two. That'd be my bet.
Yeah.
So they're already doing predictions like who's the next Bond gonna be, which I think is always interesting.
How long did it take for this newest Bond series to be rebooted?
I don't know, but
Because
I
like,
can't remember the
I mean,
first
a lot of
one. I can't
reboots like
remember the year
Spider-Man
it
and
came
Batman
out.
are the two that come to mind.
Spider-Man.
Like Batman, what? It's been 3 years and we're already getting a new Batman. Spider-Man, it's been
yeah,
not even a year, and we're getting a new Spider-Man in the scene.
That's
And so
stunning.
my thought is like, once this Bond series ends, how long do you think it's gonna be until
I think
like,
it's
the new one comes
probably
out?
gonna be about 6 years.
I was gonna say 5 years. Yeah, I'd like to see like I think the short list of people that are gonna be playing Bond. And forgive me, I read an article about the list, but I don't know most of the people, and I only remember a few of them. But I know like Henry Cavill was on that list. I think he would do a good job. He was good in Man of Uncle, and he was good as Superman, obviously. Somewhere I saw Michael Fassbender, but I was like, I'm pretty sure he's German, so that doesn't make much sense.
The only problem
Idris
though,
Elba has been on that list for like
the only problem though
years.
with a lot of those kind of lists are because of the fact that the James Bond has their own kind of basic fandom going means naturally that they're going to draw from other very fandom-esque characters or actors who play like for example, I wouldn't put what's his face, Superman, you just said
Henry
his name,
Cavill
in as James Bond, mostly because of his role as from Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I don't know, because the thing, I don't know if you know this, but the guy that wrote the James Bond books also wrote The Man from U.N.C.L.E., like what it was based off of.
I would believe that.
I mean, that's true.
But to me, that's still like you can't if you watch one and then watch the other, I feel like it would take me out of it too much.
I mean,
and
I
you
think
can't just cast the same 6 people for everything.
no, that's true.
If you look at these lists,
I agree.
9 times out of 10, it's the same. It's like the
like
same.
the leads from Doctor Who
the
and
same
Supernatural,
5 actors
are on everything.
on this every list.
Every time a new role
and then there's
comes up.
like
I agree.
3 actors you've never heard of before, and then 2 like Brad
Tom
Pitt,
Holland.
and you're like,
Well,
of course Brad Pitt.
Well,
would
I
be
mean,
good.
it was the same thing that happened
Come
with
on.
Spider-Man. Like the role of Spider-Man came out, and all of a sudden all of the like the super Hulakians, not that I have anything against them, but like because I kind of am one, but they came out of the woodworks like Benedict Cumberbatch, Jensen Ackles. You're like, why?
Neither of these
Give
two
me a
people-
good reason. They're fantastic actors, but they wouldn't be a good Spider-Man. And then they pick, Tom Holland, who's 19 years old.
Who makes sense?
Like, and it's weird because usually they cast teenagers for like mid-20s people, and you're like, that's not a teenager. What part of that person is a teenager? Even in the X-Men movies, you had Magneto. The young Eric Lenstra was casted Michael Fassbender, and he was like, he's in his 40s. And you're like, I don't know, because when he auditioned, he had like this big mustache on. And you're like, I don't know, he looks kind of old. I don't know about him. But they always do a good job. I'm not going to say they always do a good job of casting, but I think generally speaking, people just like to kind of speculate, and I think that with Henry Cavill, Napoleon Solo, his character in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., is vastly different from James Bond. That being said, I can appreciate not wanting him cast as James Bond. I think we should stick with a British guy, which is why, like, no offense, Michael Fassbender is one of my favorite actors of all time. I don't think he should be James Bond, because he's
Well, I mean,
he's
there's a
German.
lot of good actors that can emulate.
No, I mean, absolutely.
impressions.
James McAvoy
So
is Scottish.
I
and he's a great
I
British
don't
accent.
really think, like Christian Bale as Batman with how he's like his accent's
English.
very thick, and it kind of puts you off, just like David
He
Tennant
could
as
be a good
well
Bond.
from Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever you hear someone
Yeah.
speak like that, like...
So like I don't know, just saying because he's German, I don't think it's a good reason.
I mean, but the thing is, people would get up in arms about that.
When you break
It's a-
tradition, you can
It-
cause
it's
a lot of
true.
problems.
It absolutely, it causes a
Especially
lot of
for
people to get
someone
kind of,
who's so known, like someone like James Bond, who
Yeah.
is so... The character is
the epitome of British spies.
that.
And
like,
giving the
that
role
is who
to-
James Bond is.
I think they would get away with it easier if it was Michael Fassbender than if it was like an American. I think if they tried to cast an American as James Bond, people, like England would be up in arms. They'd be like, how dare you send one of those Yankees in to play us?
What if they cast like a French guy?
It wouldn't. Name a French actor?
I can't name a single
Exactly.
French actor. But,
I can't name a single French actor.
But theoretically speaking, I mean,
There's probably one. Yeah,
I mean, I really bet that there's a French actor out there.
a single, probably at least one. Yeah, I mean, that's the state of James Bond. Spectre, though.
Right.
I did like the movie. I thought it was paced well. Maybe a bit too much dialogue in certain of the action scenes where you're just like, all right, where's this going? Because it was a 2-hour and 30-minute movie. I was like, this movie does not need to be 2 hours and 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I thought they really forced the narrative that it's like, this is it. Madeline Shaw, she's the one for Bond, assassin's daughter, she'll understand him. I'm like, yeah, but in the next movie, she's not going to be there. For some reason, and that's fine, but I wish they had stopped forcing that,
Maybe they pull like a, to not talk about this movie anymore, a Bourne Identity where it's like,
Yeah.
they kill her off in the first 5 minutes, spoilers.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Never
old
seen any of
school.
those movies either.
How have you
Yeah.
never seen a Bourne movie?
We need to catch you up on
I
some
mean, I saw
Spy
bits of
movies.
it. Like I saw Dad watching one of them. I think Born Identity. I guess.
I've watched I've watched all of the Bourne movies, but
I
like
haven't-
segmented.
I've seen all
And
the
then-
Bourne movies, and I'm pretty, except for I think there was
I
one
saw
that
the
was
ending of one
not
of them.
with, what's his name in it?
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
really
yeah.
bad
That
at
was
actors'
Jeremy.
names.
Jeremy.
I'm really bad at actor names.
Jerry
It's
Ringmer-
the
Ringmer.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye played him, and it was not Matt Damon.
Yeah,
Got it.
not Matt Damon played a Bourne thing. I never saw that one because
Well, I mean, what did you guys think of the Bond, Dr. Shaw romance in this? Because I didn't feel like it was shoehorned. I felt like it
I
made a
definitely
lot.
didn't feel like it was forced.
It made a
but-
lot of sense for those two to be together, but I was like, I don't see
The
the
thing, and that's kind of how James Bond is, though. You never get the feeling of, wow, I feel like this is forced, because that's James Bond.
Yeah, any woman.
You're just like,
Like,
you go in assuming
you can bet
every
any
woman in that room is attracted to that man. That is how you go into those movies assuming.
Right, and he it kind of exudes that kind of confidence, and he is truly like a leading man. And you don't get a lot of those traditional leading men in films anymore because of people's opinions on gender roles or whatever. And I
Mhm.
don't want to go into that too much, but like the really only leading mans that we have had recently would be, in my opinion, James Bond and Owen from Jurassic World. They were very cut and dry, like we're the action hero, we're going in, we're saving the damsel in distress, kind of like all out. But even in the James Bond movie and in Jurassic World, like the female wasn't like,
useless.
Bond, help me. She was like, I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
I just don't want to be doing what you're doing.
Would you say there's a reason you couldn't include like Man of Steel or The Avengers, those kind of movies?
I mean, yeah, I guess, but I was just keeping it more human because the comic book realm is very, you know, I mean, like The Martian, I wouldn't say, like, I love that movie and Matt Damon was great, but I wouldn't say it's like, that's the leading man. It's like, he's just like a dude.
The only man.
He was just like a dude on a planet.
Yeah.
And he did a great job being a dude on a planet, but he's not like a leading man, like fighting dinosaurs or like killing assassins or anything like that. But, you know. I felt like they keep every Bond film that comes out, they keep trying to like add on to Bond's past. I thought Skyfall did an amazing job of that. I also like they introduced two major characters in Skyfall that were in this movie too. It was Moneypenny and Q. I love both of the people that play those. Absolutely.
I thought you said Moneypenny was in the last one.
That was Skyfall. Last one was Skyfall.
Yeah, so the last movie was Skyfall.
Oh, I thought you said
Moneypenny and Q were both introduced in Skyfall, and they had bigger roles in this movie. More so Q than Moneypenny.
Moneypenny actually had a bigger role in the last one.
She had a bigger role in Skyfall, but she was much more like on the tech side, on the back end thing. But she played her role very well, and she kind of made the Moneypenny character what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
She's not like in the field with Bond like she was in the beginning of Skyfall. She's just kind of... She's supposed to be like kind of the background, like, hey, I need help with things.
Yeah.
But I thought the guy that played Q, I think it's Ben Whishaw or something like that, he's a fantastic Q. And I like how they aged him down so he's younger and more relatable. They gave him cats, which is just... He just looks so adorable. And you're like, his little jumper and his cats, you're like, you don't look like you belong in Spy.
That was a great scene when they're on the ski lift, and he was just like,
This is shady.
all right.
Yeah, that's
I am about to be killed.
Yeah, Bond was like, he's like, hey, can you analyze this for me? He's like, yeah, well, I better go hop on a ski lift, pull out this analyzer thing, and place this mysterious ring on it. I'm like, why would you do that there?
I know, right? In public. Right as you saw that woman being taken away. Like,
I don't understand.
I don't get it.
Personally, but you know, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it had a lot of like really solid moments. Like that, I was a very tense scene at the end where it was like, you have 3 minutes to find her. Like, oh god.
Although to be fair with that scene, I knew immediately when he walked in, looked up and saw the net, and then kept going. I was like, that's gonna be important. I mean, duh. But then I was like, they're like, you have to do this. I'm like, he's gonna jump from like the second or fourth floor with like the net, and he's gonna get saved, and everybody's gonna be like, oh no, he died, and so I was like, that's pretty predictable. But
I think one of the other things we need to talk about, at least for Daniel's sake, is who was in it. That was a really cool person that I didn't remember they were in it, but it was Dave Bautista.
Oh yeah, Dave Bautista. I meant to bring that up.
He had a single line of dialogue in the whole thing.
Still like the scariest dude ever.
Follow him on Instagram. I feel bad for his Instagram.
Yeah, how many? Do you want to check how many followers
he has? He has like 300, 400 followers for like a dude that was super popular in WWE.
And he was in Guardians of the
Galaxy.
He's a superstar in the guy.
I thought he would have way more followers.
Yeah, this podcast is sponsored by Dave Bautista Incorporated. But he's a fantastic. I mean, I'm not sure.
His Instagram name is Enraged Leviathan. He has 980 followers now.
Wow. But he's
that's a little bit better.
I wouldn't say that he's like a stellar actor.
No, it's not. Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's like a stellar actor, but he definitely plays like
he did a really good job at tough. Like there's always that bigger than Bond, stronger than Bond. Somehow Bond beats him. Kind of guy.
Like
just
the lead henchman. He's not pulling the strings, but he's not being
the
pulled
lead henchman who spends like a solid 5 minutes at some point in the movie just beating the living crap out of James Bond.
I thought that was a good moment. Like he did a good job of being scary because he kind of made me jump in the movie. Because they're having like that nice little dinner date on the train, and then like you see a little reflection on the mirror, and next thing you notice, it's like all out fight. The table's broken, like that thing's gone, like another chair's ripped out of the ground. You're just like, oh my god, where did that come from? Oh, and it's like an emotional train wreck. Like this is nice. And then just
train wreck on a train.
Yeah, the end of that train scene though, where he gets the rope around his neck and all the cakes start falling out.
Did he die? Like seriously, do you think he
For,
died?
you know,
Because I thought he was coming back.
I did think
You know,
he was coming back, but he didn't.
When they ran into him with the car, and he pulled James Bond out, for a brief second I thought it was Batista, and I was like,
He's back!
I was just like, there is no way
He survived that train
he
bomb.
survived that. That is.
I did think it was kind of odd.
That is a James
that one
Bond death
scene
right
where
there.
he was like trying to help Dr. Shaw,
You know.
and he was like flying the plane down, and the plane was just in pieces. Like it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
a
that
plane
was- that was-
anymore.
He's just sliding
and then
down.
he stops, and then Batista's character like gets hit through the front window of the car, and he's like laying on the windshield limp.
And just vanishes.
And then Bond comes up and he grabs the girl out of the back, and they start walking away, and they have their little thing, and he's still laying there. I'm like, I don't know if it was me personally, but like if I had a battle with this guy, I'm like, oh, I saw him like, push a guy's eyelids.
I would
with his
probably
thumbs.
spend quite a bit of time making sure everyone there was either dead or alive.
Just to get a head count. And if I found that main hench guy, like that's super beefed up, that has defeated me and bested me a few times, or at least gotten close to besting me, make sure that he's kind of out of commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like permanently, not like I'm gonna get him and run away. There was that one time though, again with the truck scene, where they took James Bond and then went back for the other guy,
Yeah.
and he was like 100 yards away. I was like, how did he get there? They were like surrounded, right?
I can't wait to see the CinemaSins. I always look forward to that about movies coming out. But we kind of have to wrap up. It's about time. So thank you guys for joining us for another thrilling episode of the NerdNest podcast. If you haven't seen Spectre, you kind of just heard the whole movie. But if you have seen Spectre, let us know what you thought of the movie below, who you think is going to be the next Bond, any speculations on that. We'd love to hear from you. All of our links are below for our social media, our actual website, and our blog. If you want to check those out, we would really appreciate it. And we won't see you next week because we're doing every other week. So the next podcast will be December 3rd. I believe you'll hear from Rain and her people from Denver. But we won't see you next week, but it'll be Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at NerdNest to everyone at home. And
Be sure to pack on the pounds a little bit there.
What?
Oh, come on. It's like the
What
best
is
part of
that?
Thanksgiving is getting a little
Shit.
fat.
Anyways.
It's like, be sure to pack on the pounds a bit. Like, I feel like you're hitting on someone by saying that.
Anyway.
Like, it was offensive.
I'm hitting myself.
We need to end this before it goes just rapidly downhill. Alright. Josh is ashamed, as you should be. We'll see you
not
as soon as we
let's
see you,
just
probably
go.
mid-December. Alright, so bye guys.
See ya.
Oh, God. Ugh.